Hello and welcome. I'm Exolite and this is my channel. Today we're going to talk about a woman who disappeared. Her name is Stephanie Stewart and she went missing on the 26th of August 2008. She went missing from an Athabasca fire lookout in Hinton, Alberta. Before we get started, if you would please give this video a thumbs up, I would appreciate it. And let's talk about Stephanie. Stephanie Stewart was 70 years old. And for 18 years, she had worked for the Alberta Natural Resources Group as a wildfire spotter. That group kept watch on 128 wildfire lookouts across Alberta in Canada. As a side note, when I was a kid, I knew a girl whose parents were also wildfire spotters, and I had no idea what that was at the time. I just knew that they went to work in a very tall tower. For the previous 13 years, every summer, she worked at the isolated Athabasca Lookout, which is about 25 miles northeast of Hinton, or 90 miles north of Edmonton. It is on a high ridge in the northwest area of the province. The area is on the outskirts of Jasper National Park. There is only one desolate road that leads from the valley to the 40-foot high lookout and log cabin. Even at 70 years old, Stephanie was a healthy and adventurous young lady. She had cycled solo across Canada and had climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. She was very reliable, and because of that, when she failed to make her scheduled radio check-in on August 26th, her supervisor went to check on her at the lookout to see if she was okay. She wasn't there. Stephanie had vanished, and she was never seen again. While she worked at the lookout, Stephanie always kept busy. She had a large garden. She loved to embroider. She painted. She read lots of books. It was so unlike her to not make that call on that day that her coworkers tried to call her several times, thinking that perhaps she was in the restroom or in her garden, or there was some excuse for why she had failed to make the call that she always made every day. At the cabin, what was found was a pot of boiling water on the stove. There was some blood on the stairs that were leading up to her cabin, a decent amount of blood. There were several blankets, pillows, and a gold woman's analog watch missing from her room. Police said at the time that they didn't believe Stewart fell victim to an animal attack. So, what had happened? Stephanie had spoken to family members the night before at about 9 p.m. and she seemed fine. They said that they didn't notice anything different in her voice, but her truck was still parked outside the cabin. And it was curious that the boiling water was on the stove unattended, which meant to them that Stephanie had gone missing very soon before they had gotten to the cabin. The supervisor immediately called the Royal Canadian Mounted Police to come out to the lookout and begin a search. Stephanie was reported missing at 9 a.m. on August 26th. Stephanie was a slight woman. She was 5 foot 2 inches. She weighed just 105 pounds, and she had blue eyes and chin-length gray hair. However, because she was such an experienced outdoorsman, they knew that something had to be definitely wrong. Well, A, because there was items missing from her cabin. B, the amount of blood on the stairs. And she had spent so many years in this job, she would know what to do if there was an emergency. And there was no signs that she'd done anything. And she hadn't made the call that she was supposed to make. The way it usually worked was every morning, Stephanie's supervisor would either call or receive a call. And they would talk and see if she was doing okay. They would update each other on operational status. But that day, It was no different. It was just bizarre that she wasn't calling, she wasn't answering. What they discovered at the cabin was that the phone was unplugged from the wall. And that's why the line was dead. Mark Cymbaluk, a volunteer with the Hidden Search and Rescue, managed the initial search for Stephanie. It was one of the largest ever undertaken in the province. Stephanie has a special place in my heart, he's quoted as saying. And he added that from the back deck of his home, he can see the lookout tower where she worked. One thing that bothered them was the boiling water and the sheets, blankets that were taken. They didn't know if perhaps Stephanie had had somebody who was there all night long with her, or had just come that morning. Was she boiling water for tea for just her, or was there somebody else? Did she feel comfortable with the person that was there? They may never know. And why was there so much blood on the stairs? Had she fallen? Had she been hurt on the stairs? Because of Stephanie's disappearance, it led the province to tighten security measures at all of its 128 fire watch towers. Those measures included self-defense training for fire watchers and two-way radios with panic buttons. There were signs that once pointed visitors towards popular lookouts that had been taken down, and the lookouts with road access had been locked. And no one else has disappeared from a fire lookout since. They did do another search in 2013. They thought maybe if they had fresh eyes, they could find something, but they didn't. So no one knows where Stephanie went, how she went. Was there foul play? Forensic evidence and other information gathered during the early days of the investigation led by the RCMP ruled out any hint that Stephanie was attacked by a wild animal, being a bear or a wolf, or that she had died in an accident, or had suffered a non-medical episode that caused her to wander away. They concluded she must have been abducted or killed by someone. Because of the boiling water, either she must have received a visitor in that morning or the night before. Whatever it was, it happened just minutes before help would have arrived. Just minutes. Full pot still boiling, and yet she was gone. Then they wondered, was Stephanie murdered by Travis Vader? Vader is serving a life sentence for the murder of Lyle and Marie McCann, who were aged 78 and 77. The couple had disappeared shortly after they left their Edmonton area home in their RV for a camping trip to British Columbia in July of 2010. Vader, who was a drug addict with a history of arson and theft and weapons charges, killed the McCanns during a robbery west of Edmonton. After murdering the couple, Vader disposed of their bodies in the woods, and then he burnt their RV, which I have also done a story about them on this channel if you look through my playlists. The McCanns' remains have never been found. Vader was apparently in the area of the lookout when Stephanie disappeared. The police always have to ask, is it possible that this person ran away to set off on a new life? You know, yes, she was 70, but that doesn't mean that she might not have felt that she needed to leave. But she left her Dodge Ram truck still parked in its spot. It's doubtful that she would leave on foot to start a new life in the woods. The area was very isolated. Somebody could have come and picked her up. The tower was about 3 miles off a major highway. People could drive up there and look over the valley that extends to the edge of the Rocky Mountains. Of course, since her disappearance, that road has been blocked off to the public. Her friend, Robin Slater, said her perfect place was the lookout, where she tended her garden. She embroidered, painted, and read her stacks of books. She welcomed the many visitors who came to her lookout. She loved her job. Stephanie's daughter, Lori, said that Mom's a hell of a woman. She's very strong. She's very capable. The tower life is her life. Her body and the missing cabin items have never been found. Was it a random, unexplained murder in the wilderness? Or something else that happened at that lookout tower in the isolated part of Alberta? We may never know. And she is missing without a trace. Thank you for coming to my channel. If you are interested in true crime or the people who go missing without a trace and the paranormal, then this is the place for you. And so please subscribe. If you want to be notified when my content goes live, go ahead and click that bell. And if you know other people who are interested in these subjects, please go ahead and share this channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Good night.